Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. On behalf of respected Amir Sahib UK, the Majlis Amla UK and the Baitul Futuh Executive Committee, my name is Sultan Lone, Secretary Finance UK. I'd like to welcome you to the Baitul Futuh fundraiser specifically for the South region. May I now request Regional Murabi Sahib Raza Ahmed Sahib to please come and recite a portion of the Holy Quran.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم من ذا الذي يقرض الله قرضا حسنا من ذا الذي يقرض الله قرضا حسنا فيضاعفه له أضعافا كثيرة والله يقبض ويبسط وإليه ترجعون. In the name of Allah, the Gracious, the Merciful. Who is it that will lend Allah a goodly loan, that He may multiply it for him manifold? And Allah receives and enlarges, and to Him shall you be made to return.
Jazakallah Murabi Sahib. Before we go into the formal proceedings, just as a call for housekeeping, we are not expecting any fire alarms or tests this evening, but in the event that they are, then to your right and my left, both the men's and the ladies' fire exits will be able to be utilized from there. If you can kindly have your mobile phones on silent when the formal proceedings are taking place. And the agenda for today's event is very much, there'll be a number of presentations by Secretary Jadad Sahib UK, a short video, the financial overview of the project, and then inshallah an address by respected Amir Sahib UK. And following that, we will then have dinner approximately just after 8 o'clock inshallah. So without further ado, if I may request Regional Amir Sahib South to come and formally give us the welcome introduction.
Assalamu alaikum. Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Respected Amir Sahib, respected Naib Umara, members of UK National Amla, and respected guests. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome you all to Baitul Futuh Fund residing in South region. When we started to work on this, I had no idea how we were going to do this event. We had many hurdles, and by the biggest was to find a suitable and affordable place to hold this event. A committee was formed under the chairmanship of Kaleem Sayyid Sahib. We had many meetings, and cooperation from Lajna, Ansar, and Khuddam was invaluable. We had the guidance and help from the Sayyidin Sahib, Naib Amir, Secretary Finance UK Sahib, and Secretary Sami Basri, Mian Safta Sahib. I'm very grateful to all presidents in the South region who helped to make this event successful under the very difficult circumstances. Until yesterday, we were not even sure if this event would go ahead because of coronavirus. I would also like to thank my Ziafar team who have worked for many days to prepare delicious food which will be served after this event is finished. I'm very grateful to respected Amir Sahib who has always given us unqualified support. In the end, I'd like to thank all invited guests who have turned up as requested to help us for a good cause. I pray that all who are present here and your loved ones are safer from this affliction, Ameen. And in the end, I would like to have a request of prayer for our Murabbi, Faiz Ahmed Saab, who is quite seriously ill actually. So please remember him in your prayers. Jazakumullah.
Jazakallah, Regional Amir Sahib. I will now request our National Secretary Jadad Sahib UK Irfan Qureshi Sahib to come and give us an overview of the Baitul Futuh reconstruction project, please.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Respected Amir Sahib, members of the National Amla, Regional Amir Sahib and his team, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We are extremely delighted to be here and welcome you all this evening. We had a similar function like this last year in Baitul Futuh, which was the first fundraising function. But this year we had a series of other functions, one in Birmingham, one in Manchester. We had a function in Middlesex. Yesterday we had another function in Baitul Futuh. And now we are here in the South region, Alhamdulillah. We hope and pray that this evening also turns into another night that we can remember, and that this region again responds to the call of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih for the fundraising of the Baitul Futuh redevelopment project. This project is managed under the redevelopment committee set up by Hazur Aqdas, and Amir Sahib is chairman of that committee, and I am fortunate to be a member of that committee as well. We have been working on this project since after the fire. A professional team of consultants has been appointed and a competent contractor is doing the work on site. So people who have visited Baitul Futuh would have seen that the structure is now nearly complete, i.e. the shell and core, the external work is now nearly complete. Now we have started the internal work. The stone is still going up, so there is a sea of stone that has been delivered from Portugal for construction of the external facade. Recently on Tuesday, Hazur Aqdas visited the project, and Hazur Aqdas was updated on the various aspects of what is being put in place on the project. We hold regular design team meetings. There are monthly meetings that are held and various other meetings with key statutory stakeholders who review the design criteria on the project. All key decisions after approval from Hazur Aqdas are taken by the redevelopment committee. We now will show you a presentation.
The Ahmadiyya community in the UK built their first mosque, Fazl Mosque, in the town of Southfields in London. The mosque was opened in 1926 and was built through donations by Ahmadi Muslim women. The Fazl Mosque foundation stone was laid by the then Khalifa of the community, Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Raziallah Ta'ala Anhu, Khalifatul Masih II. Through the blessings of Allah, the Fazl Mosque has been host to thousands of events since its creation. Due to the ever-progressive nature of the community and the rapid expansion in the number of Jamaat members, Fazl Mosque soon reached its peak capacity. The community began looking for a new site. After looking at various other sites, a suitable site in Morden was found. Khalifatul Masih IV launched a new appeal to fund the development of a new mosque in Morden on the 24th of February 1995.
इस वक्त मैं 5 मिलियन की तहरीक जमात इंग्लिस्तान की मरकजी मस्जिद के लिए करता हूँ, इस दुआ और नियत के साथ कि ये लाजिमन इंग्लिस्तान की वसी तरीन मस्जिद हो। इबादतों की गुंजाइश पर जोर होना चाहिए। जो 7 मुफ़्त इमारतें हैं या दूसरे नखरे हैं, उनको बेशक नज़रअंदाज कर दें।
The site was originally a milk processing factory that had been abandoned. Owned formerly by Express Dairy, the site served as a distribution center. Large trucks would arrive with milk from farms that would be bottled inside the factory and then sent off to customers all over the southeast of England. The 5.2-acre site originally also featured a rail line with sidings for the delivery of milk. The factory was abandoned in 1992 and had been serving as an eyesore for the growing community of Morden. The site was inspected by Khalifatul Masih IV and the late national president of the community, Mr. Aftab Khan, prior to purchase. The site was purchased on the 29th of March 1996 under the blessings of Khalifatul Masih IV. The site underwent extensive redesign for the mosque section itself, with a new structure being put in place, whilst other areas of the site, such as the various halls and one of the minarets, using the old structure of the factory, and were adapted to the new design of the complex. The foundation stone for the mosque was laid by Hazrat Mirza Tahir Ahmad, Rahmullah alayh, Khalifatul Masih IV, on the 19th of October 1999. The complex was inaugurated by Khalifatul Masih V on the 3rd of October 2003. Since the inauguration, the site has become a pinnacle of the Jamaat. It has played host to over thousands of Ahmadi and non-Ahmadi events, serving both the Jamaat and the local community. The mosque is Britain's biggest, whilst also being the largest mosque in Western Europe. Since its inauguration, it has been part of the Open House London campaign and has been recognised by Spectator magazine as one of the top 50 buildings in the world, and by the Independent newspaper as one of the 50 best modern religious buildings in the world. An integral part of the London skyline, it is recognised for its unique architecture and historical significance. The complex has the capacity to house over 13,000 worshippers and is also home to the community's MTA International television station and to the Voice of Islam studios. Eid ceremonies, national peace conferences and thousands of other events have been held at the complex. On September 2015, a large fire ravaged through the complex.
The blaze was so intense the smoke could be seen 10 miles away. The site of London's largest mosque, the spiritual and cultural centre of the Ahmadiyya community in Europe, engulfed by flames.
See behind me those big black billowing smoke coming out of the Baitul Futuh Mosque. Now this is one of the biggest mosques in Western Europe.
The fire began in the kitchens of the Nasr Hall and spread to the Nur Hall and other offices, causing extensive damage to the administrative blocks. Over 80 firefighters from the London Fire Brigade were on site to tackle the blaze.
Like I said, the fire was contained literally with the area within Nasr Hall and the adjacent offices. Damage definitely has been done there, but the rest of the complex, alhamdulillah, is safe.
We used an aerial appliance to pour water onto the fire and within quite a short time managed to prevent the fire escalating. We worked with the construction of the building to ensure that in the end only a third of the building was affected, a third of the ancillary building was affected. So from our perspective, working very closely with representatives from the mosque, managed to target the key parts of the building to ensure what was important to them was prioritised and saved, and that's been the outcome.
The fire was of such a large scale, it was being covered by national and international media outlets. Whilst the local response to the fire was a show of great support, there were also those who expressed their joy in seeing a mosque aflame. The fire soon aroused those who wished to see the Jamaat's efforts perish. By the grace of Allah, no lives were harmed, and the fire was quickly contained before it could spread to the mosque. The fire caused extensive damage to the structure of the Nasr and Nur halls. Over 50% of the ground and first floor was lost due to structural damage, leading to a complicated demolition project over several months. Following the fire, Khalifatul Masih V reassured the community in his Friday sermon.
जैसे कि मैंने बताया पहले भी, यहाँ मस्जिद के मुतसिल 2 हॉलों में आग की वजह से बड़ा नुकसान हुआ। बड़ी खौफनाक आग थी। इस पर जब मुख्तलिफ टीवी चैनल्स और दूसरे मीडिया ने खबर दी है, तो बाज़ बुग़्ज़-ओ कीना में बड़े हुए लोगों ने बड़ी खुशी का इज़हार किया। एक मिसाल मैंने पहले भी दी कि अच्छा हुआ ये मस्जिद जल रही है, बल्कि वो तो ये कहते हैं कि ये मस्जिद है ही नहीं, ये मुसलमान, क्योंकि ये मुसलमान नहीं, इसलिए इनका जो भी इबादत की जगह है वो जल रही है। और फिर जो अफसोस का बाद में जब इनको अफसोस का जिस बात का इजहार किया इन लोगों ने, पहले तो खुशी मनाई, फिर अफसोस का जो इजहार किया वो इस बात पर नहीं कि क्यों हिस्सा जला, बल्कि इस बात पर अफसोस किया कि इनके सिर्फ 2 हाल जले, मस्जिद क्यों नहीं जली। इस बात पर हमें बड़ा अफसोस है। तो ये तो आजकल के बाज़ मुसलमानों का हाल है। ठीक है, आज ये सुभान अल्लाह इस्तेज़ा के रंग में और अल्लाह ताला की गैरत भड़काने के लिए पढ़ रहे हैं, तो पढ़ें, लेकिन इंशाअल्लाह जल्द ही इससे बेहतर और खूबसूरत तामीर करके हम हकीकी सुभान अल्लाह पढ़ेंगे और माशाअल्लाह ही पढ़ेंगे।
With the approval of Khalifatul Masih V, a new design by John McCaslin Partners has been made to regenerate and match the overall design aesthetic of the mosque. The new plan features an impressive front facade to match the modern design of the mosque whilst retaining our Islamic heritage, and is extended to 5 floors. The new design also adds an additional 1,100 square meters of space on top of the lost 4,700 square meters, bringing the new total area to an impressive 5,800 square meters. In his sermon on the 3rd of November 2017, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, Khalifatul Masih V, may Allah be his helper, officially launched the Baitul Futuh redevelopment appeal.
उसके बाद मैं मुख्तसरन एक और तारीख भी करना चाहता हूँ जो यूके के लिए अमूमी है और दुनिया के मुखय्यर हजरात जो हैं, जो साहिब हैसियत हैं, उनके लिए, और वो है तकरीबन 2 साल का अर्सा तो गुजर गया, मस्जिद बैतुल फतूह में जब आग लगी थी कि एक हिस्से को, उस जले हुए हिस्से की तामीर नौ के लिए। आजकल कुछ सालों से 1984 से खिलाफत के यहाँ क़याम की वजह से दुनिया से अफराद यहाँ आते हैं, उनकी रिहाइश है, फिर मुख्तलिफ फंक्शंस होते हैं। अब तो दुनिया के मुल्कों के ज़ैली तंजीमों के भी और जमातों के भी बड़े बड़े वफूद वैसे भी सारा साल आते रहते हैं, उनकी रिहाइश वगैरह का भी मसला रहता है। मस्जिद के साथ मुल्हिक हॉल और कमरे होते थे पहले, तो वहाँ इंतज़ाम हो जाता था। जलने के बाद अब उसमें काफ़ी तंगी पैदा हो रही है और उसकी तामीर नौ का मंसूबा तो बना लिया गया है। वो लोग जिनको पहले इसकी तामीर में हिस्सा लेने का मौका नहीं मिला, उन्हें तो ज़रूर कोशिश करके हिस्सा लेना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये यूके जमात का मंसूबा है। इसलिए अमूमी तौर पर तो जैसा कि मैंने कहा, यूके के एमपीओ का ही काम है, जमात का ही काम है, इसमें हिस्सा लेना चाहिए। और बाहर की दुनिया के भी मुखय्यर अहबाब जो हैं उसमें हिस्सा लें, ज़ैली तंजीमों को भी, ज़ैली तंजीमों की हैसियत से, जमातों को भी, जमातों की हैसियत से बड़ी बड़ी जमातें जो हैं हिस्सा लेना चाहिए, क्योंकि सारा साल ही अब तो यहाँ बाहर से मेहमान आते हैं और यूके जमात हर महीने इनकी मेहमान नवाजी भी करती है, बल्कि तादाद बल्कि अब तो हज़ारों में हो गई है। हज़रत मसीह अलैहिस्सलाम ने एक मौके पर फरमाया कि आलमगीर के ज़माने में मस्जिद शाही को आग लग गई, तो लोग दौड़े दौड़े बादशाह सलामत के पास पहुँचे और अर्ज़ की कि मस्जिद को तो आग लग गई। इस पर ख़बर को सुनकर बादशाह फ़ौरन सजदे में गिरा और शुक्र किया। हाशिया नशीनों ने तज्जुब से पूछा कि हुज़ूर सलामत, ये कौन सा वक्त शुक्रगुजारी का है कि खाना खुदा को आग लग गई है और मुसलमानों के दिलों को सख्त सदमा पहुँचा है? तो बादशाह ने कहा कि मैं मुद्दत से सोचता था और आहे सर्द भरता था कि इतनी बड़ी अजीम शान मस्जिद जो बनी है और इस इमारत के ज़रिए से हज़ार हा मखलूक़ात को फ़ायदा पहुँचता है, काश कोई ऐसी तजवीज़ होती कि इस कार खैर में कोई मेरा भी हिस्सा होता। लेकिन चारों तरफ से मैं इसको ऐसा मुकम्मल और बेनक्स देखता था कि मुझे कुछ सूझ ना सकता था इसमें मेरा सवाब किस तरह हो जाए। सो आज खुदा ताला ने मेरे वास्ते हसूल सवाब की एक राह निकाली है, वल्लाहु समीउन अलीम। बस जो पहले जैसे कि मैंने कहा इस कुर्बानी में हिस्सा नहीं ले सके, उन्हें ज़रूर हिस्सा लेना चाहिए। 3 साल के अरसे में अपनी रकम के वादे जो भी करें उनको पूरा करने की कोशिश करें, लेकिन कम से कम तीसरा हिस्सा पहले साल में ही ज़रूर अदा कर दें।
The new foundation stone was placed by Khalifatul Masih V on the 4th of March 2018 in the stone laying ceremony. The rebuilding work began in 2018. The project is being overseen by PDR Construction, a renowned firm that has delivered over 70 projects, ranging from residential builds to large-scale industrial facilities for over 25 years across the United Kingdom. The current construction has focused on both Phase 1, the superstructure, and Phase 2, the internal work, such as the mechanical and electrical systems. Both phases are being worked on simultaneously, and the superstructure of the design has been completed with all 5 floors now in place. Stonework is being carried out within the complex, with specialist stone being imported from a world-renowned quarry called LSI Stone, based in Portugal. The quarry has supplied stonework for over 500 international projects over 20 years, including landmark buildings ranging from large-scale commercial developments to bespoke residential projects. Recently, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, Khalifatul Masih, visited the site for an inspection.
Assalamu alaikum, Huzur. Assalamu alaikum. Huzur, can I introduce, this is Steve. He's running the project here for PDR. Chris is the architect for this site. Mark is the QS on the site. Ian, he's designed all the M&E on the site. इसके ऊपर फिर एक और हॉल है वो इससे ज़्यादा बड़ा है जो नेक्स्ट फ्लोर हॉल है
But it will sustain that load.
ये चल रहा है नीचे छोटे रुख पे कोई
छोटे रुख पे कुछ हैं इंटरमीडिएट बट सारे नहीं कॉलोनेट के पास हैं इंटरमीडिएट
ये भी लंबा एक बीम दे दिया इधर भी कोई नहीं छोटे
वो तो है क्योंकि ये जो मेटल डेकिंग है ना वो रेस्ट कर रही है सेंट्रल बीम पे सारी मेटल डेकिंग ये स्टैंड मेटल डेकिंग
के नीचे दिए हुए हैं
जी जी
सारे इसके ऊपर पड़ रहे हैं
जी
ये हजूर यहाँ डॉमेट्रीज और यहाँ इस साइड पे कमरे होंगे और इस साइड पे डॉमेट्रीज होंगी डाइनिंग हॉल मिडिल में हजूर जैसे आपने कहा था मिडिल में जी यहाँ जी जी यहाँ इसके ऊपर फिर एक और फ्लोर इसके ऊपर एक और फ्लोर है उसमें भी अकोमोडेशन ही है
The work is currently ongoing with Phase 1 and 2 scheduled for a 2020 delivery. May Allah bless the Jamaat and help us in our task.
Jazakallah. So the project is split in 4 phases. So the first phase is the shell and core, as I said earlier, which is the superstructure. And the second phase is the fit out, which has already started on site with the M&E installations. Phase 3 will be the finishes in the building, and phase 4 is the ancillary items like the construction of the gatehouse, the facelift of the building close to the railway bridge, and external works will be coming in phase 4. Now, whenever I see or whenever I hear Hazur's khutbah, where Hazur talks about the king, that he wasn't able to take part in the first construction of the mosque and he had the opportunity to do it now, it's exactly a similar story like mine. I wasn't able to take part in the construction of the Baitul Futuh Mosque itself because I was a student at the time, but now Allah gives me the opportunity to take part in the construction of this redevelopment project. So this is, for me and my family, this is an honor and a privilege to take part. So let us now pray that we remain the fortunate ones during this time, that we can leave behind another landmark that our generation can remember and cherish, which is indeed the house of victories, Baitul Futuh, for not just the UK Jamaat, but all Jamaats around the globe, from the pulpit of which our Khalifa speaks to the world. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah Irfan Sahib for a very eye-opening. Every time I even see the VT, the video presentation, having seen it so many times, it's very humbling again that we are given this opportunity. And in fact, Hazuri Aqdas's site visit, only literally took place 4 or 5 days ago on Tuesday. So that visit is very fresh, so it shows you the great interior progress that has been done to date. On that note, may I please now request Murabi Raza Ahmed Saab to come and address us on financial sacrifices, please.
Assalamu alaikum. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون وما تنفقوا من شيء فإن الله به عليم. Never shall you attain to righteousness unless you spend out of that which you love. And whatever you spend, Allah surely knows it well. There's a narration by Hazrat Abu Huraira radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu in which he says, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, every morning 2 angels come down from heaven, and one of them says, O Allah, reward every person who spends in your cause. And the other angel says, O Allah, destroy every person who keeps his wealth. Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam has spoken on the aspect of financial sacrifices. And Azur says that it goes without saying that you cannot love 2 things at the same time. It is not possible for you to love wealth as well as to love Allah. You can love only one of them. Lucky is he who loves Allah. If any one of you loves him and spends his or her wealth in his cause, I am certain that his or her wealth will increase more than that of others. For wealth doesn't come by itself, rather it comes by Allah's will. So whoever gives some of his wealth for the sake of Allah, he will surely or she will surely get it back. But he who loves his wealth and doesn't serve in the way of Allah as he should, will surely lose his wealth. Do not ever imagine that your wealth comes because of your own effort. No, it comes from Allah Almighty. And do not ever imagine that you do a favor to Allah or His appointed one by offering your money or helping in any other way. Rather, it is His favor upon you that He calls you to His service. Again, what Irfan Qureshi Sahib mentioned about that incident Hazur narrated in his khutbah. The world that we're surrounded by, I just actually went down to the shops today. It's just a rat race everywhere. This is not just a building, it's a symbol of the UK Jamaat. There's so much more to it, and every single one sitting in this hall has benefited from the Baitul Futuh Mosque in one way or another. Some of you had your weddings there. Some of you had your daughter's wedding there. Your son's weddings, your colleagues, your friends, your relatives, so many of them. And it's a place where any one of us can go at any time. In today's day and age, especially for the youth, there's nothing more of a stronghold that you can imagine. So it's that house, that mosque in Morden, it doesn't belong to one Jamaat specifically. It belongs to all of us. And for us as Ahmadis, if something is mentioned by Hazur Anwar, if it is Hazur's desire, if it is his wish, even if he pointed it out just briefly, just with a hint, for us as believers, if we belong to this Jamaat and we all love Khilafat in every aspect, that should be enough for us. And just a pointing of Khalifa Waqt, that I have this desire, I have this wish, I want it, that should be more than enough. Because at the end of the day, ultimately, it's in following Khilafat in every aspect, financially, financial sacrifices, sacrificing our honor, sacrificing our time, whatever it is, done with the intention that because the appointee of Allah, the Khalifa of Allah, is saying it at this time. That's the reason why I'm doing it. Because Allah said it in the Holy Quran. That's why I'm doing it. And because we have these incidents and these examples of the Sahaba and the Khulafa in front of us, that's the reason why I'm doing it. Then, as Hazrat Masih Maud says, that reward is ours, inshallah.
Jazakallah Murabi Sahab for a very inspirational address there. As mentioned earlier, my name is Sultan Lone, I'm Secretary of Finance for UK. And as part of our agenda that we've been doing for the Baitul Futuh fundraising around the country, as Irfan Sahab mentioned, we had a very large function last year, originally at Baitul Futuh, when respected Amir Sahab initiated a campaign of inviting regions and Jamaats to very large functions. In the last 6 to 7 weeks already, we've visited Middlesex region, the Midlands region, and the Northwest region. And after yesterday's function at Baitul Futuh, today we are visiting the southern Jamaats. So we are very much praying that this is a successful event, and by giving you an overview of the financial position. So now to move on to the actual current position, in accordance with trying to keep in line with what the approved budgets are, etc. If I may ask Sami Basri team, we will now present you the reconstruction financial summary. And in terms of on the income side, in total, our net income has been £9,732,826. So just over £9.7 million. You can see there that originally the insurance claim that the Jamaat submitted and was paid out on was just over £6 million, following which our relocation costs, for those of you that are aware that we had to move to Baitul Hasan, the whole administrative headquarters, from the demolition costs and the other existing infrastructure that was required, they were met immediately. Then you can see that there's a number there which says number 3, the AMA UK branch collections. So these are specific branch collections that our Jamaats have done across the UK, which is just under £4 million at this stage. The Majlis Ansarullah collections, who are raising funds on behalf of Jamaat UK, they've banked just over £310,000. Lajna Imaila, by the grace of God again, they have raised in excess of £800,000, and Majlis Qadam al-Ahmadiyya UK has raised just in excess of £70,000. On this note, I must actually say again that we are seeing tremendous sacrifices made by our members across the UK. And in whatever capacity that they are coming to the call of Khalifa of the time, and in response to respected Amir Saab's national appeal in order to fulfill this project. Moving over onto the expenses, as Irfan Qureshi Saab, our National Secretary Jadad, mentioned to you, the project originally was over 3 phases, and now has been moved into a 4-phase project. So the first 1, 2, and 3 phases were the shell and core, and having seen the pictures, you can see that the majority of the shell and core has been done. The second part is the fitting out and the finishing. Now, the approved budget that the Baitul Futuh Reconstruction Committee, in accordance with submitting it to Huzuri Aqdas, is just over a £13.6 million approved budget for the construction costs. Now, point 2, you'll see phase 4 ancillaries. This is very much that what additional outbuildings or requirements that may be, which at this stage still remain an unknown. And currently we're budgeted for £500,000. However, this may change going forward subject to the requirements. So our total sub-construction costs are coming in at just over 14.1 million. Point 3 is these are costs that have already been met, so such as demolition, our planning, our architectural costs, and our project management costs. As Irfan Qureshi Saab mentioned, is that we have leading architects and project managers that have been working on this project, as well as our construction company as well. So just over £860,000 has been expended. So the total current approved budget is just over £15 million as we currently are. So moving on to the summary, you will see that our summary of the overall project is that we've generated a net income of just over £9.7 million. At this current stage, our projected costs are just over 15, so therefore there is a shortfall at this stage of just over £5.3 million. The final number there that you'll see is that how much have we spent to date. Now, by the grace of God, you know, with our collections and our insurance monies, etc., you know, we have already expended and physically paid out £9.2 million. This is the UK's single largest project. We are now at a very critical juncture in this project where there are significant funds needed on a regular basis, but in a very short time. And again, you know, South Region, by the grace of God, that when they've been called to come forward and to assist the Jamaat, they've always been very forthcoming. But to give you an overview as such, that having looked at the historical collections and promises that the South Region Jamaats have made, is that the participation, again, is still very low. That if you look at your adult tajneed, for example, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if your adult tajneed in South Region is around 1,500 members of adult tajneed, only 700 people have participated in the Baitul Futuh contributions. There is significant improvement to be made. So I humbly request you, all Jamaats, all Sadran, especially the Lajna, please bring your family closer to making these significant sacrifices for us. We are at a very critical juncture with this project. In terms of administratively today, to my right and your left, we have our full finance collection operation. We're not only collecting cash, they are taking cards, and they're also taking, on the Lajna side, jewelry as well. So the Lajna has the same facility of the collections. Today, I understand again, this is being streamed via YouTube to many, many people that could not attend. I humbly request again that you should pass this link to all of your members and your friends and your families that are unable to attend today for the extremely special circumstances that we have of certain people not being able to attend. Secondly, gift aid. This is a very valuable point for us. Gift aid is that for you income taxpayers that are employed and have paid sufficient tax in a year, this is a value of 25% extra of that donation for us. So please, on your donation slips, excuse me, please do fulfill your gift aid application and authorization for us. And again, I will just humbly request you that please do remember the finance team in your prayers. This is a very, very large project. As you can see that we've already spent over £9 million, and we are able to fulfill our responsibilities and complete the rest of the obligations accordingly. On that note now, I will now humbly request if respected Amir Saab UK would kindly come and address the rest of the function, please. Jazakallah.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. My respected colleagues, National Amla colleagues, Regional Amir Sahib, Regional Rabbi Sahib, and all the members of South Region Jamaat, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to be here today. The South Jamaat, Croydon in particular, is one of our oldest Jamaats. From what I gather, the Jamaat was originally established in 1973. Although I know that we bought the building much later in 92, but the Jamaat is one of the old Jamaats by the grace of Allah. So I thought there will be some people here who will remember some of the old memories of the UK Jamaat. So I thought today I'll share some of those memories with you. When I came here with my family in 1960s, the whole Jamaat was a very small Jamaat. There were only a handful of families, and they could, for instance, during the winter months, in Masjid Fazl,
it was too cold because we didn't have a proper heating system. So during the winter months, we would close Masjid Fazl. And during the summer, when the masjid was open, we would put a curtain in Masjid Fazl. And now most of you have been to Masjid Fazl. We put a curtain there, and we would have men at the front and women at the back. Can you imagine? That's how big the Jamaat was. At that stage, there used to be two properties, 61 and 63 Melrose Road. And in 63 Melrose Road, there was, on the first floor, there was a room where during the winters we would read namaz there. And in the basement, there was a room where it was a dining room and doubling up as a sports room. Now, nowadays you get very smooth tables. By that stage, we used to have these old plank tables and made out of wood. And what used to happen is they used to use those for food, but they used to double up as our table tennis tables. And I can tell you that all our young boys became expert at table tennis because you never knew where the ball was going to go. But we had some expert table tennis players as a result. Then we had our first Khudam Lamti Ijtimam in a place called Windmill in Wimbledon Common. And I remember there was just a handful of people, and Hazrat Chaudhry Zafrullah Khan Sahib, who was the person who we looked up to as the elder of our Jamaat here, he came and presided over the function and gave out prizes afterwards. And I have some very vivid memories. They were a very small function, not a huge amount of function. So this continued. We used to hold functions. We didn't have, apart from Fazl Masjid, we didn't have any other premises. So for Eids, we would hire town halls, and we would go and visit or offer our Eid in the local town hall, either Windsor Town Hall or Battersea Town Hall or Wimbledon Town Hall. And because the Jamaat was so small, it was one community. Everyone was all together. Then slowly and slowly, more people started to come in. Some people came in from Africa, East Africa. Because of independence, a lot of people had the option either to come to the UK or to go to Pakistan or India. And some people came from Pakistan, so the Jamaat started to grow. But even then, it wasn't huge. But then Khalifa Salas Rahimullah, when he came here, he decided that now the Jamaats are growing. So he then instructed that we should acquire at least 10 centers in the UK. So 10 centers were purchased as a result, one in Hounslow, one in Southall, one in Midlands, one in Manchester, Bradford, and Huddersfield. So there were 10 centers were purchased during that period. Then Hazrat Chaudhry Zafrullah Khan Sahib, who was our mentor and our elder, he used to look after us. But then he decided that the Jamaat had come to a stage where rather than having to hire halls, we should have our own hall. Because at that stage, we didn't have any halls at all. So then he wrote to Hazrat Khalifa Salis Rahimullah that at my own expense, I would like to build Mahmud Hall. And Hazur gave him permission, but then he did not have the funds to do it. And Khalifa Chaudhry Zafrullah Khan Sahib, he owned the land right next door to Masjid Fazl, between the railway line and Masjid Fazl. And he asked the Jamaat if the Jamaat would like to buy it. But the Jamaat did not have the money, so we could not buy the land. It would be nice if we had bought it then, if we had the money, because we would have had a much bigger complex there. So he then had to sell it to a developer, and then he used the funds to build Mahmud Hall and Nusrat Hall. So slowly and slowly, the whole thing started to develop, more people started coming. But then came the time when Khilafat moved to the UK. Now, even when Khilafat moved to the UK, the Junaid of the Jamaat was very small. The first Jalsa Salana that took place, you'll be surprised, actually took place in Mahmood Hall. The first 2 days of Jalsa Salana in 1984 actually took place in Mahmood Hall. And the final session, when Hazrat Khalifah Masih Rabi Rahimahullah addressed the Jamaat, that took place in a recreational center on the A3, Surbiton Recreational Center. Can we please have silence? You're disturbing, too many people are disturbing. So, at that stage, at that Jalsa, there were 1,500 men and 1,500 women who took part. So the total Tajneed of the Jamaat, because there was a first ever Jalsa in the UK, the whole Jamaat wanted to be there. So we had 3,000 people who attended the Jamaat. Then the following year, Hazur felt that it was important that the Jamaat should acquire something where we can hold Jalsas. So the UK Jamaat found the property in Islamabad. And we were very excited, I remember, because we were going to, for the first time ever, get a property which is 25 acres. We thought it was huge, 25 acres. What are we going to do with 25 acres, such a huge property? And I remember the first Jalsa that took place there, it was in April, and April showers, and it rained very, very heavily that year. And at that stage, now we have very comfortable marquees with wooden floors and padding and carpets and everything. At that stage, it was pole marquees. We had straw on the ground, a bit of carpet, and that was it. And when the rain came into the marquee, everyone's clothes got wet. And all of the cars that were there got stuck in mud. And our young Khuddam then physically lifted the cars out of the mud to put them on the road so that people could drive away. And they were totally covered in mud. And I remember Khalifah Masih Rabi Rahimahullah coming there and beckoning the young Khuddam and say, "Come here." So he wanted to embrace them. And they said, "Hazur, we are covered with mud. Please don't." He said, "No, come here." So he embraced those young Khuddam who were doing wonderful work. So when Khilafat first came to this country, a lot of people like myself and some of the people who are now elders of the Jamaat, we were young men. And although we were good Ahmadis, Hazur realized that our knowledge of the Nizam itself was quite weak. Just being a good Ahmadi and understanding the Nizam are two very different things. So he started our training from zero to understand the Nizam and the interrelationships of various things. And he went very deep into our training with actually being with us, giving us a lot of time in order so that we can benefit from his wisdom and his guidance. I remember when Hazur came here, he was very passionate in Tabligh, so I was Secretary Tabligh then. And we organized a function at Whitelands College, which was next door to the mosque. And we had invited various religious leaders. And we had also invited the mayor of Wandsworth. Now, when the mayor of Wandsworth accepted our invitation, we were absolutely over the moon because we thought a mayor was coming to our function. That was our height of our aspirations in that time. Shows you where the Jamaat actually first started. And the young boys, some of them who are sitting here, the young Khuddam, they would not know any of this. At that stage, that was where the Jamaat was. But then look at the blessings of Khilafat. We start from a point where just one mayor coming to our function was a big deal. Today, by the grace of Allah, We have kings, queens, ministers, prime ministers, secretary of states coming to our function. And to be honest with you, nowadays at the peace conference, we don't even have time to allow them to speak from our stage. They're all sitting there, you've seen them. And when they come to Jalsa, when I do that presentation, I get a long list of, world leaders there, and I have to say, sorry, no time. I have to cut out most of the people. So you can see that the blessings of Khilafat on our Jamaat in the UK is incredible. I mean, there's so much rich history of Khilafat in this country. It would take me days and days to go through it. Some of you have experienced it yourselves, and by the grace of Allah, some of you have seen history in the making in this country. So we should never underestimate that we are going through very revolutionary times, and the Jamaat now is in a fast track. Remember when Khilafat came to this country about 30 odd years ago, we were almost asleep. But today, through Khilafat, we have woken up, and we are expected to be in the fast lane from now on. And we have to keep up with Khilafat. And it is very, very important that we understand our responsibilities for Khilafat. We are very blessed in this country that Khalifatul Masih resides amongst us. Never take it for granted, because that is a true Allah's blessing on our Jamaat. And I went to Jalsa Salana in Qadian, and there were people there who knew that they would never actually meet Khalifatul Masih, but they were so pleased if Hazur looked in their direction. That one look, they were going to survive the rest of their lifetime, and on that one look in their direction, they said, Khalifatul Masih saw me, and he smiled at me. So please never take this thing for granted, that Khilafat is Allah's big blessing on our Jamaat. You personally can go and read namaz behind him, you can go and meet him, you can go and, he knows most of you personally. So never take that for granted. So then, as the Jamaat continued to progress, need was felt that we needed even bigger premises than Mahmood Hall and Masjid Fazal. So Khalifa Rabi Rahimahullah, he had this vision that he wanted to build in the UK the largest mosque in Europe. Now you saw when he launched his appeal, he said that what his wish was that it should be the largest mosque in this country, and that he wasn't concerned about it being the most expensive mosque, but he wanted it to be the largest. And alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, he laid the foundation stone. At that stage, we firstly started looking for properties. We looked everywhere, up and down the A3, we looked in Hounslow, and so many. I remember going myself looking at some of those properties. But nothing actually worked. Then Allah sent us this property at Baitul Futuh, old bottling plant. And by the grace of Allah, Allah had already decided that this was going to be the place. And we got it at a very reasonable price at that stage. It was almost 5.5 acre of land right in the heart of London, next to underground, British Rail, everything, good, very transport links. And alhamdulillah, Hazur then launched the appeal that we should build that beautiful mosque. So work was started. Hazur came and laid the foundation stone, and work started. And by the grace of Allah, the work progressed speedily. But unfortunately, it was Allah's will that before Khalifa Masih Rabi Rahimahullah could inaugurate the mosque, he went back to beloved Allah. And that was very, very sad. Then Hazrat Khalifa Masih al-Khamis Ayyad Talib ibn Aziz came and inaugurated the mosque. Now, Khalifa Rabi Rahimahullah had called this the House of Victories. And there was great hikmah behind it, because when the mosque was inaugurated, it got worldwide publicity. Every television station from every part of the world came there. Every newspaper came there. Magazines that normally are not interested in religious buildings came there. It was declared as one of the best 50 buildings in the world. And because it was going to be the House of Victories, it was Allah's plan that it got huge coverage throughout the world. So an announcement was made, the House of Victories has arrived. Then came the very sad incident where I was sitting at home and I got a call that fire has taken place at Baitul Futuh. So I rushed there. And of course, the fire had already started. The fire brigade was just arriving when I got there. So we sat down and they said, tell us what parts you want saved because we can't save everything. So we said MTA studios, the library, exhibition. So they put a ring around it and they said, we won't be able to control what is inside. So that fire was so intense that it almost came through on the MTA side as well. There was one glass that saved it, and the firemen were standing on the other side of the glass with the hose pipes, that if in case it came through, they were ready for it. So then you heard Hazur Akhtas's Friday sermon. He said that there were Maulvis who said Subhanallah when they saw it. They thought the whole mosque was burning down. But Allah has His own plans. Of course, we were all very saddened by what was happening. But now that I think back, Allah had His own plan because the front of the building did not reflect the beautiful mosque behind it. So maybe Allah had planned it that way, that we should have a beautiful front as well as back. And then Hazur, as you heard in his, he said that inshallah we will build the most beautiful mosque and we will then say Alhamdulillah, and they will then have to think about their position. So this is Allah's plan, Allah's will. So when the thing burned down, we went to one of the top architects in the UK, John Caslin Architects, and they came up with this beautiful design which Hazur loved. And then we got planning permission, and alhamdulillah, the work started. So now the construction is going on. One thing I can promise you is, because I visit the site regularly, that the building that is emerging is the most beautiful building. The stonework that you see there is this is what is going to be built, what you see on the screen at the moment. And you will see that this will be one of the most beautiful buildings in London. People will come from all around the world to see this building. It's going to have beautiful colonnades where people can walk through, and then ladies will be able to go directly to the back and the men will be able to turn left through the colonnades and walk all the way up to the mosque. It will have 2 halls, one on the ground floor, beautiful high ceilings like we're sitting here. If you remember, Nasser Hall used to be very low ceilings because it was actually a loading bay, which we had converted into a hall. But now it's proper high ceilings. And then on Noor Hall on top, that's an even bigger hall. And it can be used as two separate halls. Then we have offices above that and 2 floors of accommodation. Hazur mentioned that, of course, a lot of people are now going to be coming from abroad because of Khilafat being in this country. So those 2 floors have been built so that we can accommodate with respect the people who come to see Khalifatul Masih. So inshallah, you will find that the building will be beautiful, and it is already a very active center. But I can see that once it's built, it's going to become a more active center. Before the building was burnt, I often laugh. In 3 weeks before Jalsa, I attended 42 weddings there. Can you imagine, in 3 weeks? I was attending 3 weddings a day. And I remember one day I had done 2 weddings and was on my way home, and I got a call saying, Amir Sahib, where are you? I said, why? He said, we're waiting here. You've got to come and do dua here. So I had to come back. So you can see that this new facility is going to be just as busy. As the Jamaat is growing, its needs are growing. A lot of people need space. Our families need space. It will be a place where our children will come and be educated. And it will also not just be for our community, but also the local Merton College comes and uses it for examination. Merton Council uses it for their meetings. The police and the fire brigade come and do functions there. So it is a real community asset. And because of that, when we first acquired this and we went for planning, there was huge opposition against the Jamaat because people, Islamophobia. And they had to call out police on the day when the planning hearing took place. But I'm grateful to Tony Coleman, you'll remember the name. He became a member of parliament and was very close to the Jamaat. In fact, he came to see me just recently. He was the leader of council and he stood up and said, no, we are going to give them planning permission, in spite of all the opposition. And then what we did, we created a liaison group. We invited all of the local communities and said, you're going to be part of the liaison group, and one of the councillors will chair it. Although it was for us, but we decided we will give them control. So the first couple of meetings that were held, there were a lot of opposition against the Jamaat. But today, 15 years later, and the series is very much actively involved with it, they will not do anything until the Ahmadiyya Jamaat is involved. They said, we don't want to do anything if the Ahmadis... 25 years. 25 years that has been going. And it has created so much love for the Jamaat in the area, and it has brought the whole community together. So you can see that this is going to be a true house of victories. And we want to make sure that when we present it to the world, it's the most beautiful building. Now, I think it was mentioned that we first finished the main building, but then there is going to be the external works. There's going to be landscaping. We have terrorism police, who is very involved with this project because it's a key building now in London. They want us to have terrorist measures. For instance, on the main road, we'll have to put bollards because nowadays people use vehicles to run down people. So we're going to put security bollards there. Then there will be gatehouses where the gatehouse will have special security features. So God forbid there was a problem, that it would not damage the people there. And then also the front of the building, the windows, they will also have protective layers on them to stop blast from damaging the windows as well. So there's a lot of things that are going into this, which when Sultan was mentioning there's a £500,000 that we've allocated, we're still in discussion with terrorism police. I mean, they want a lot more. They want a road, they want this, that. So if we went everything, we gave them everything, then it would be millions of pounds. We're not planning to do that. But I think any sensible measures that they come up with, inshallah, we will implement those. Then, of course, there's the old security building and the kitchens and everything. Now, if you're not careful, that will become an eyesore, because the first thing you see is that building, and then you see the main building. So we have to then address that part of that building as well, so that when people come round and they see that, that should read correctly with the main building. So there is still work to be done, but inshallah, we are hoping that inshallah by the middle of next year, we will have achieved something which will be completely operational. So special prayers are required. Now, remember that this building, as I mentioned earlier, world leaders are coming here, right? We have had kings. I remember once having, with Huzur, we had the president of Sierra Leone came there, and he had lunch with Huzur Aqdas. And with him, he had 4 ministers and the High Commissioner. And when we were talking to him, we found out the 4 of the ministers with him were all ex-Ahmadiyya school boys. They were not even Muslims, they were Christians, but they're all studied in Ahmadiyya schools, and as was the High Commissioner, and the headmaster during that period was Bashir Akhtar Sahib. He just happened to be there at that time as well. So we've had, by the grace of Allah, a lot of, you've seen Boris Johnson's been there, Theresa May's been there. We have politicians from around the world, Canadians, Americans, Europeans come in large numbers now for peace conferences and things. So this is truly a house of victories. And inshallah, from here, the message of peace is going to be spread around the world. And we will be very proud to be part of that process. Now, besides this project, we are also continuing with the other projects. Nothing stopped. So as you know, you've probably heard, last couple of weeks, Hazur inaugurated South Hall. Now, South Hall, this building, if you haven't seen it, I would recommend you should go and see it. The pictures do not do it justice. This building has been built on the plot of a 3-bedroom house. 3-bedroom semi-detached house, and this can hold almost 700 people for namaz. It's got a 3-bedroom apartment on top, and it's got offices as well for the Jamaat on a 3-bedroom plot. And every inch of the plot has been used very, very creatively. So it is something that is most beautiful. I recommend you should go and see. Besides that, we are at the moment in completion on Scunthorpe. In Scunthorpe, we are just about to finish our mosque in Scunthorpe. You might see a picture of that. This is in its final stages of completion. And inshallah, we're hoping that that will be completed by April, inshallah. Then we have Span Valley, where we had lots of problems because every time we were trying to acquire something, there was huge oppositions against the Jamaat there. And 3 times we were about to exchange on a building. When they found out we were Ahmadis, they cancelled it. But then Allah has given us this beautiful church. And at the moment, we are in the process of converting it, putting an additional floor, constructing Murabbi's house. And inshallah, you'll find that we will have another very beautiful building there. Then we also acquired recently a building in Blackburn, where we are again going to renovate that building. And inshallah, that will be also completed. It's possible that we can even put a purpose-built mosque next to it. And then we have 2 projects, one in Huddersfield, where we have planning permission to build a mosque, and also in Cardiff, where we have also got planning to build a beautiful mosque there. So these projects are continuing at the same time. Nothing is stopped on those projects. So you can see that by the grace of Allah, the Jamaat, Allah has blessed us in every aspect. We are continuing to move forward. It's the blessings of Khilafat that has taken us to this space. And all these beautiful mosques and everything are just purely the blessings of Khilafat, nothing else. So we should always remember that. And remember that it is a true blessing of Allah on our Jamaat. We should never underestimate, never take it for granted, because we know how the whole world is looking for Khilafat. And Allah has gifted us with this. And not only has gifted us the Jamaat, but has gifted the UK Jamaat, the Khilafat is in our country. So it becomes incumbent upon us that we should pray for the good health and long life of Hazrat Amir al-Mu'mineen Aziz and his family, so that we may continue to receive Allah's blessing through this great institution. And finally, I'd like to say a little anecdote. Alexander the Great, when he was about to die, he called one of his ministers, and he said, do me a favor, when I die, put my hands outside the coffin. So his minister said, oh, great king, you are one of the greatest kings. You have amassed huge fortunes, huge lands. You have everything that you possibly could need. Why is it that you want your hands left out of the coffin? He said, I want the world to see that I came into this world with nothing, and I'm leaving this world with nothing. Only thing we're going to take with us is our piety, our honesty, our integrity, and whatever we do in way of Allah to build His house on this earth, that is what will go with us in the next world. So with those thoughts, I'd like to thank everyone who is here. May Allah bless you, and thank you very much. I know that at the moment we have coronavirus issues and everything, but Allah bless you that you still have come here, and inshallah, I'm certain that you will give generously for this beautiful project today, inshallah. Jazakallah.
Thank you, man.
Jazakallah, respected Amir Sahib, for a very inspirational and address again. Just to give you an overview, you can see the live numbers where we currently are, and we're obviously hoping that following the presentations, etc., that members will dig deep. Lunch, my apologies, dinner is going to be served very shortly. But before the silent prayers led by respected Amir Sahib, this is an opportunity we actually give to the members for a short question and answer session, including the Lajna. So if I can request Sami Basri team, they have the mics ready. And if any individual would wish to ask respected Amir Sahib or the Executive Committee a question, please do so. And dinner will be served imminently whilst the question and answer session is taking place. So are there any questions from the men's side? Yes, please. Could I have the mic here, please? And if you can kindly introduce yourself and your Jamaat, that would be very kind.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. My name is Mia Khalil Ahmed. On this form, it turns around and says promised amount new, what we are donating today, and what is the promise. So what is the period?
Period, ideally as quickly as possible, but you have 1 year. 1 year, but please, as quickly, because we need the money now, as the project still continues for the year, so we happy to do 1 year. Okay.
Regional Sadr Saiba, if there's any questions from the Lajna side, please, you have the mic now. And from the, whilst the Ziyafat team actually asked me very kindly if these two tables to my left, if you can kindly come into the middle tables, so that will save them from, with the space that they have. And also to the table to the back, if you can, these guys, if they can move into this table here. Is there any further questions from the men's side? Sadr Saiba, anything from the Lajna side?
No, there is no question.
One question that's been asked is, Zurat has said that anyone who pays £10,000, his name will be put on a plaque. Two things in this respect. One, I would say to you that please remember your elderly parents and deceased parents, because that will be Sadqa Jariyah for them. And I can promise you that in years to come, your children, grandchildren, and their grandchildren, because this building is going to be there for hundreds of years, will come and they will, as in Manaratul Masih, people go and say, they look for the names of their loved ones there. People are going to come here and going to say, look, that was my grandfather, or that was my grandmother, or that was a member of my family. So please remember your deceased parents or elderly parents as well when you make donations. The other thing is that obviously these questions come up a couple of times, so I might as well say it, that you can individual If they give £10,000, the individual's name will be there, but as a family, if you give £10,000, then the family name will go up. So it's not necessarily just the individual.
Again, I'd just like to add, just for the benefit of all of the South Region Jamaats, it is our responsibility to encourage our brothers and our sisters to participate in this blessed scheme. As I mentioned, to date, only 50% of your tajneed has participated in this blessed scheme. So again, we fully appreciate that there are many tariqats throughout the year where South Region does come forward. But please, on this one especially, we will be working with the Sadran. Is there any other further questions from the men's side? Yes, Inko mic there, please.
Rahmatullah. Respected Amir Sahib, my name is Abdul Qadir from Norway Jamaat. So my question is, I need a little clarification regarding, the promises for Baitul Futuh Mosque, that we got promises before. And today's event, this was our understanding that whatever people are going to donate here, they are separate from those promises. Could you kindly clarify this?
You see, the thing is that I think the first lot of promises that we got, actually in total, there were only £5 million from the whole of UK. That was the target that I set to the Jamaats. But now we have proper costs and everything. So our total cost is 15 million. If we said 5 million we already had, so 10 million. So we still need £5 million. And we have to therefore go back to the Jamaats and say, please help us to improve from your original promises. And I will also say that a lot of people did not make promises in the regional when we did the original appeal. So I would request presidents in particular that please make sure that you give the opportunity to every member of your Jamaat to participate in this blessed scheme. Do not exclude anyone, please, yes? Inshallah, I'm sure that we will get our target. That I'm not afraid of. But I can tell you hundreds of stories. Recently, we had a fundraising function in Baitul Futuh. And when I said to the team, we invited about 250, 300 people. And I said to the team, we want £2 million from these people. They looked at me as if I'm totally mad. But it is not our work. It's Allah's work we're doing. And some of you may have been there that evening. Those 300 people actually gave us £2.2 million. So it's Allah's work. It's not. I can tell you hundreds of stories on these projects. I will take all evening. I could tell you stories how people have sacrificed. But one quick story is when we were doing the regional mosque, and when we started the project, I formed a committee, and the committee, we asked again to ask 200 people to come. So I said, how much money do you think we'll get from these 200 people? Committee said, if you get 100,000, Misa, it will be very good. I said, we can't, 100,000 is no good. We want at least £500,000. So we had the function. I remember Khalifa Masih Rabi Rahimullah was unwell at hospital. I was with him. I came straight from there to the function. We made the appeal. That day, people came and gave £550,000 in promises, £300,000 paid cash, and that went up to £750,000. And then then we did other functions like we're doing now. Then 6 months later, we needed another £500,000 urgently. So I said to the committee, bring the same 200 people back. They said, Amir Sahib, you're mad. We've taken everything from them. How are they going to give you any money? I said, just bring them back. They came back, we made another appeal, and by the time we went for namaz, I was told it was £350,000. I prayed during namaz and said, Allah, we need at least £500,000. When I came back, I was told the £500,000 was there. I never asked how, why, or why not. But our Jamaat is so generous because Allah blesses them. Anything we are paying is not from our pockets, it's from what Allah has provided us. It is whatever you want to build for yourself in the next hereafter. Everyone has the capacity to be generous. And our Jamaat has never let us down.
Jazakallah, Amir Sahib. I think on that note, as the starters have been served, we will request the respected Amir Sahib to please lead us in silent prayers, please.
Chalo, please join me in silent prayer, please. Ameen.
Jazakallah. And we won't hope to interrupt you during your delicious starters, but Regional Amir Sahib has said those members who have not registered, kindly do so upon your departure. It's very important for us to know that the guests that were invited and those that have not participated today, that the Regional Amir Sahib and his teams can go meet them. But please do enjoy your starters. Anything else?
I'll be going around the table.
Good man.
Perfect.
Okay. Let them start when the main call starts. Yeah, let them start.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम जिन लोगों ने अभी तक अपने वादे नहीं दिए या अभी उन्होंने चेक देने हैं या जो भी देना है अभी वो खुला है फाइनेंस डेस्क प्लीज़ खाने के दौरान बेशक जाके उनको पैसे दे दें दे आर ओपन टू टेक द मनी एंड वट एवर जज़ाकुमुल्लाह
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. Amir Sahab said I should say one or two words. I've been coming to Croydon Jamaat since probably 1972 when the Jamaat was first set up. I was blessed that I used to come here. Many of you here are the children of those people that have passed on. And I highly recommend that your families, by the grace of Allah, have done very well, that you should together, in memory of your elders, as Amir Sahab has mentioned, try and make a contribution. 3 or 4 people in the family who are working now together, brothers, can do it, or also your elders as well. So please today, try your best to make a promise or give a contribution before you leave. Jazakallah.